Hey Tea Weirdos, this is Denny.
And this is James from TeaDB. We are bringing you episode 240 or something like that.
Yep.
And today we have some aged Oolong from Everlasting Teas. So thank you to Sammy over there at Everlasting Teas for sending us this tea. I had this just the other day and excited to give it another go.
Yeah, are you doing, getting into those aged Oolongs again?
I do enjoy an aged Oolong on occasion, and I actually had the pleasure of meeting Sammy in Taiwan when I was there last year.
That's cool.
And he had been hanging out at a farm over in Pinglan, which is where they grow Baozhong, and so he has some close connections with those farmers over there.
Perfect.
And so you can see, to smell those leaves.
Beautiful, big, twisted, very much roasted. Woo, very almost charcoaly.
Yep. So
sweet, plummy, and really fragrant.
So this is an aged Baozhong. It's supposedly from 1981, and it has been re-roasted once in 95, so that's 20 years ago. Jeez, over 20 years ago.
Older than us.
Yep.
This is what, 35-ish years old? A little more than that?
Yeah, something like that.
37, but we are gonna enjoy it. And so for these teas that get re-roasted, or in this case baked, what's the point of that for those folks out there who don't quite are not familiar with that, James?
So my favorite type of aged Oolong is the ones that's not re-roasted or baked ever. But the trick with those is they need to be kept. They need the humidity level within the tea needs to be low.
Right.
So if the humidity level in the tea ever rises too much, it will start to get tart and then sour. But one way to combat that is to roast it.
Right. So in essence, it's sort of a way of preserving. My God.
It smells great, right?
Oh, brandy. Little smoky, earthy, sweet brandy. One of those sort of like ports, kind of those like fortified wines, but it's got some punch in there. It smells delicious. Baking is going to preserve the tea a little bit longer potentially. It's going to enhance some of the flavors, or depending on your preferences, detract from some of the flavors. That's that's a personal thing. And highlighting this simply because it's true that tea, some tea should be drank fresh. Some teas benefit tremendously from aging, and there are right ways and wrong ways to do both. And we're hoping these are one of those teas where it's been aged appropriately. It's got a great aroma, and excited to try this.
Yep. And one danger with the re-roasting is if it's overdone, it'll just start to taste like a roasted Oolong.
Right.
Which is fine, but it's a roast. It tastes more like a roasted Oolong rather than an aged one. And
so these Baozhongs, this is a particularly roasted looking Baozhong. I mean, normally I think the trend has been greener.
Indeed, yeah.
And so this is going to be an atypical Baozhong. This wouldn't sort of describe the category, but it's going to be an interesting beverage indeed.
Yeah, for those that are into Taiwanese oolongs, they probably know that the processing of these Baozhongs has gotten greener and less oxidized over the years. So when this was originally processed in 81, it probably was not these really lightly oxidized, super floral Baozhongs that you get now.
It's got an absolutely wonderful aroma. Some of those sort of raisin, cinnamony, baking spice vibes, sweet, fruity.
How about the roast? Can you smell much of the roast?
It doesn't smell too nutty. I think I was getting a little bit more of a sort of an earthiness, though, which I think will be a little bit of the roast in there. But we'll give it a taste and see what we think.
Yeah, I agree. It has a really rich, sort of plummy, leathery aroma to it. I enjoy it. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Interestingly, not super sweet. I wouldn't call it sweet per se. I think it errs more on the side of being something more like a wooey rock taste sweetness. With a really actually noticeable plum sweet finish. Maybe a little bit of some sort of, I don't want to say peanut, but some sort of, there's definitely some nuttiness to this in the roast, I think.
Yeah, I feel like the roast is not dominant, but you can taste a bit of it there. For instance, this tea is from 81, but I feel like the 89 Baozhong that Everlasting Tea sent tasted a little more aged, even though it's younger by 8 years. And I think that's probably mainly because of the roast. But this tea definitely has some of that aged taste in it as well.
Yeah. It's really active more in my mouth after drinking it than in the cup. I think the aroma is quite strong. I'm not tasting too much of the flavors upon the first, of course it's just the first cup. But already there's a lot of activity just sitting here, kind of marinating.
Yeah, a lot of
nice.
Lingering sweetness.
Yeah.
I think this is also seems to be, to me at least, a tea that we can push probably pretty hard and it's not going to get nasty. So I think for this next steep, I'll probably reboil this water.
Awesome.
And go for a bit longer.
Cool. I'm getting back in here. Cheers. This is one of those teas that is harder for me to describe. It's got a sort of a light texture. I wouldn't call it like super thick or oily or viscous. I think leathery is definitely tasting that now.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think the roast, you can taste more of it in this steep actually. More of those roast and nutty mineral sort of flavors to it. Leather for sure.
So, but it's earthy, but it's not vegetal. It's not smoky.
It's not tart or sour at all.
No, it's not particularly fruity. Although there is that sort of plummy oolong through line that is a residual flavor profile. So you just reboil the water, let that hang out for 10 seconds.
Yep.
5.
Yep.
And we're using a vessel that pours a little bit slower than maybe your typical vessel, so that's going to influence the potency a little bit.
And also retains heat really well. If you touch that vessel, it is pretty dang hot.
Yeah.
And we'll take a smell of this again. Actually, I'm getting more sort of like floral aroma off of that right now. Floral, fruity.
I think it smells actually a little bit sweeter than it tastes. It has more of that sort of aged taste in it. Excuse me. This is really good. This is one of those teas where if someone threw this at me blind, I would have no way of guessing that this was going to be a Baozhong. It tastes a little bit aged. I probably would call this more of like a wooey tea. In terms of its sort of immediate characteristics.
Yeah.
Doesn't say anything good or bad about it. It's just kind of how I'm experiencing it. Yeah, I think you can definitely taste the age on this. It doesn't. And part of that is that sort of, in some sense, it's like tasting the absence of certain things that you might expect from roasted oolong. I think that, yeah, this definitely does taste like a roasted oolong. Be interesting to have had you said 90 or 89?
Yeah. Yeah. And we have a third one also that was re-roasted 5 times. So I would guess that would taste much more like a roasted oolong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, guys.
Going. So.
It's almost creamy.
Yeah, apt. Good description. Yeah. There's more body, intensity, roundedness. I think that's sort of those middle notes are coming out really strong in here. Again, I'm not experiencing some of those higher, sweeter floral notes as much as I am sort of those like creamy, leathery, and then like kind of a lingering plum sweetness to it, which is actually quite nice. Yeah, really good texture overall. This is pretty dang delicious. What do you think about this for the mom test, though?
I think it would do okay. It's not rough at all, which I think is a key. I think it'd be a fun tea for anyone really that's newer to tea or hasn't had sort of like these aged oolongs to tackle, just because it's different and tastes good. Yeah,
it's well balanced.
It's aged. It's like sort of a glimpse into what age plus this re-roast will do to a tea. So
yeah, totally. Quite nice. So yeah, I think this is a comfortable tea to drink. I think one of the things that I'm liking the most is just how active this is after drinking.
Yeah.
So sitting here and just kind of marinating on it, it's there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like I'm not feeling it too much in my chest, maybe a little bit in like the throat, but
sweetness there.
Yeah, but and it's not astringent per se, or drying that much. It's not bitter, but it kind of is like teetering towards that. I think if you probably like push this really, really, really hard, you could get there. But that.
Yeah, you'd be like your first brew is like 60 seconds or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that vessel was pretty much packed full of leaf at this point.
It is, yeah. And the leaf is so fluffy that it can be a little bit hard to tell. But this is a pretty standard ratio for me. It's about 6 grams for 95 milliliters.
Right,
so.
right. And how long would a tea like this go for, James?
It seems to be losing a bit of steam, but assuming that we maybe give it a break and push it a bit more, I think we could get 7 infusions out of it, something like that. Would be my guess.
And that's going to be probably, in this, your mileage will vary, but probably a little bit longer than a very young Baozhong that you just get, which might last 6 really, really great steepings. So the roast is going to potentiate a little bit more of those flavors potentially and make it last a little bit longer.
Yeah, I feel like this infusion in particular, I'm getting a lot of charcoal and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I almost think that Denny was saying earlier that if you just toss this in front of him, it'd be hard to know what it is. I feel like for me, I would probably come to different conclusions depending on which steep I had. Mm-hmm. If I had the first one, I think I might be more likely to guess some sort of aged oolong. But this steep, I think very well could have been a roasted oolong sort of steep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah. And if folks wanted to grab this,
go to everlastingteas.co.
Co.
Yeah,
unless they did a typo.
That may have been a typo, I'm not sure. But you can look for Everlasting Teas. I don't remember that .co. I could be wrong. But yeah, check them out. They have some aged oolongs. They sell in 30-gram quantities. They come in this snazzy packaging. And I think it's under $20 for 30 grams. So a pretty decent deal for something that's
been kept after for so long.
6 years, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the leaf integrity looked really good. So.
Gorgeous, clean. I'd say from a aged $2 ratio, this is a good buy, a value buy.
For sure, yeah.
And also just an interesting glimpse into this category of aged oolongs that have been roasted. You could definitely, like James has said, try one of these and then try something that has not been re-baked or re-roasted and see if you can tell the difference, if there would be a difference for you. That'd be an interesting exercise to try. I wouldn't call this a daily drinker per se. I think this is more one of those kind of like special occasion teas, but nevertheless, really good. And give it to your mom and see what she thinks and let us know. Post in the comments.
Yeah. I also want to just quickly add that I think this tea would be good grandpa style too.
That's a good point, actually. That makes a lot of sense. I buy it.
Because it's one that's, I don't think, unless you were super rough with the tea and used like 30 grams for your mug or something, then I don't think it's likely to get too nasty.
Yeah. Really delicious. Check us out. Check out Everlasting Teas. Check us out on tdb.org. Comment down below about your favorite aged oolongs, if you have any.
Yeah.
If you have any questions for us, post there. If you want to get in touch with us about bringing your tea onto the show or hanging out or whatever, hit us up, tdborg@gmail.com.
If you have any complaints, you can email Denny at Denny
no reply at
no reply. Send me PayPal.
It's been a treat bringing you folks so many freaking tea episodes, and yet there's always more to drink. So stay tuned, follow us along on all of the relevant things, and we'll see you guys next time.
Cheers.